Hello, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and my guest today is Karisma Jay, award-winning performing artist, filmmaker, professor, and artistic director, and founder of Abundance Academy of the Arts. Karisma, I want to say Abundance.
Ow, the D is for flair, okay? Okay. As per my feathers today.
That's excellent. Thanks so much for being with us. You know, quite a career you are having. You're part of the CUNY family, so you must say that the chancellor just decided that you were one of the best teachers ever.
Oh my goodness.
Tell us about that.
Well, I am just like super excited to be here with you and super blessed to be in the CUNY family. I have been in the CUNY family for about 6 years. I started out as an MFA dance major at Hunter, and upon my first year, they actually asked me if I would teach. So I was teaching and taking classes at Hunter, and that was from 2018 to 2021. And then I was welcomed by the Medgar Evers family, and so I've been teaching a digital and dance choreographic class in their liberal arts program.
And so that's what you got the award for.
Yes.
Amazing, this collaboration between the filming, if that's the correct term to use, the taping,
whatever, the filming,
of dance and the making of the dance itself.
I think that we have, and especially when we think about dance, we have like this misconception that dance has to be only a specific way or only with specific people. But for me, dance is everywhere. You know, there is dance in the way that images move. That's what film making, film doing is, right? It's the movement of images. So in that class, I had students who were not dancers by any stretch of the imagination. And by the end, what they were able to create in terms of not only having this new affinity towards dance, this new respect for the art form, but also they were able to unlock parts of themselves that I think only dance would allow.
But you already have your MFA, and you now are in a doctoral program.
I am. I'm a true New Yorker, especially as an artist. It means that we get it done. So whenever anybody asks me, oh, what do you do? What it takes.
What it takes,
Yes.
right. But well, so talk about, I don't think that I've heard many people talk about getting a doctorate in dance.
Well, dance is my first love. It's my longest relationship, and it's my longest, I'll say, successful one, okay? We're out here, right? We're outside this summer, right? And so when it came to me wanting to investigate how I could use what is my first love in a very impactful way to help change the landscape of our world, it's super appropriate, I would say, that we do get doctorates in dance because there's so much research still yet to be done, and there's still so much work to be done because a lot of dance programs, a lot of dance institutions need some support. They need to know about what there's more possible to them, you know?
Right, and you're continuing the connection between film and dance.
Yeah, so
in your doctoral studies.
So in the program, you can have 2 tracks, and so my track actually is the interdisciplinary track, which is in alignment with how I've just been living my life. I went to NYU Gallatin for individualized study. I'm an interdisciplinarian, if you will, right? And I mean, pun intended, right? I love discipline. I love the integration of discipline in all of our daily systems. And so I am hoping with my dissertation to actually create a documentary that instead of just entertaining, it edutains people, it educates people on the power of dance.
Right, and you're doing that at Columbia.
Yes, I am. So NYU for undergrad, Columbia for my doctoral. I think I've balanced it out here.
Right, but you love CUNY the most.
But I love CUNY the most, exactly. CUNY is where the coin comes from. CUNY is where I invest in my community and invest back in me.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
Exactly.
Right? So now, talk to us about the dance. It comes from your mother, who was a dancer.
Yeah, so my Mama Sandy, that's Sandy with an I, as in the third eye, hello. So she was a dancer. She went to Adelphi, and she took a lot of dance classes. And then she was with Alpha Omega Company. She danced with Cowtef, African Dance Company. And a lot of the, I would say, a lot of the experiences that she had and that she exposed me to were rooted in the diaspora and making sure that I was connected to from where I come so that I knew where I was headed.
But she was Panamanian. So
Yes, so my mom is born and she was raised in Panama, in Rio Bajo, and then she came to this country as one of the few of our family. So my mom is actually one of the last ones who was really connected to the culture directly and speaks Spanish fluently. And so then in her just knowing about her own sort of place in the world, her own footprint in this diaspora, it was very important for her, for me to know about my connection to Africa. So one of my first dance classes ever was actually in West Africa. She would take me to West Africa when I was 1 and 2 years old to just expose me to the villages and to humble me, because it was definitely a humbling experience, beautiful, but definitely humbling, and give me an access to other parts of the world and how other people.
And so you have, several films, but let's talk about Palante because it has to do with your roots.
Yeah.
Your mother's roots and your grandmother's roots, which is so fascinating.
Yeah, so my great-grandmother, may she continue to sleep in peace, so her name was Miriam Brown, Brown with an E, and she was actually born in the Canal Zone of Panama, and her family actually is directly connected to Barbados. So she was one of the family members who actually did not speak Spanish, because in Panama, there's a lot of Caribbeans who are in Panama and who were brought to Panama or rushed to Panama to help build the canal. And so my great-grandmother, when she was, I want to say 15 years old, she was a track runner in Panama. And she qualified for the 1936 Olympics.
Incredible.
Now, I really started to kind of excavate that history because there was so much there, and it actually came up at a random breakfast one day where she's just like, I would have won. And I'm like, won what? The Olympics. Girl, what? How does that come up at breakfast? So in investigating her story, what ended up happening is that the 1936 Olympics was very controversial for obvious reasons, and her father didn't let her go. Her father didn't let her go because she's this black girl, like, going to Germany. How, Sway? How are you gonna do that? And in her not going, she then quit track and field. She then, a few years later, she has my grandmother, and the rest is history. So for me, Palante is my love letter to her. It's my love letter to all of our ancestors and maybe our current elders who sacrifice a lot and have a different way that their life goes, but it actually manifests into who we are.
We have a clip of that.
Oh, yes, Palante.
Palante.
On your mark, get set, go!
Yes! Abuela, was Isabella as fast as me or me?
Faster.
Look, there are college scholarships on the line here.
You never let us do nothing. I need you two to stay on track. Don't start nothing and not finish it strong. Niñas, recuerden, pa'lante y pa' arriba siempre.
I love this already. I can't wait to see the whole thing.
Yes.
I've been looking at this clip. I said, I love the hair.
Well, that was very intentional. So in Afro-Latinidad, there are so many ways in which we show up in different ways. We show up differently. We have different hair textures. We have different skin tones. It was also important in Palante for there to be the grandmother who speaks only Spanish, the mom who speaks Spanish and English, and the grandchildren who speak English but understand Spanish, because that is very much a part of Latinidad, the Latin experience.
Right. So the whole Caribbean. I love that in your teachings as well as your films, you include the Caribbean and Spanish-speaking people, and it all comes from this fantastic history.
Yeah.
So Palante is where now?
So it is in its 11th film festival, which is, unheard of for a girl from Brooklyn, just straight out of the, straight out of the gate, like hitting it hard and doing this grassroots, right? And so actually this week in Philadelphia, there's the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, and Palante is actually going to be featured there.
Right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Right. Well, let's going back to the hair. Your other film, and your hair is magnificent.
As is yours.
Talk to us about Crowned.
So Crown, I co-wrote and co-direct with one of my college friends. Her name is Love Nafi. And we were sitting on skills and feeling like we wanted to do more with what we had. And so we came up with the notion of Crown. And Crown is a story about a young black girl who has to put her hair in a bun for the first time for the biggest audition of her life. And you know, it's crazy that we don't talk about this enough, but there's so much that goes into our hair and how to show up for an audition or an interview, or even today. It's like, Mommy, at 7 this morning, I'm like, Mommy, what am I gonna do with my hair today, right? And so Crown is really about honoring ourselves, honoring where we come from, and knowing that regardless of the outcome, whether it's the interview or the audition, we're beautiful, and we actually come from royalty, so we're enough already. Crown actually just won the Best Narrative for the CUNY Film Festival. Thank you very much. Yes, so I was really, really excited about that. It happened last month.
All right, we have a clip. Let's take a look.
Yes, Crown.
And that hair will have to be in a bun. Ah, now you're working, I see. This is it.
I honor my crown.
Do you even know?
Now, the bun, is it losing its status in the dance world?
Well, I'm loving the diversity that we're now seeing on stage. And that's not to say that we hadn't seen diversity before. We had been seeing some like little snippets, some glimmers of diversity. But now, like if you go to see the Alvin Ailey Company, you're seeing locks, you're seeing mohawks, you're seeing short crop hair, you're seeing all of the expressions that really are reflective of our society. Like we love, especially as Black and brown folk, we love to diversify something. We love to express ourselves in our fullest. So we are seeing that we can move away from the bun, but you know, in the ballet world, they still are doing the buns. Now though, at least with any of the classes or groups I have, the bun can be with locks, the bun can be with braids, the bun can be with twists. Sometimes if you don't have hair long enough for a bun, you can just have a slick back and that be very coiffed. You know, it's not so much about fitting into that European standard.
Right, right. So now we were talking about your history. Let's go back to 10 years old in your promise.
Oh, yes.
And then we'll talk about what you did after that promise, including a lot of math.
Oh,
okay.
Algebra particularly.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Algebra, so. Yeah, you know, not to be confused with Calc 3 because girl, what? Okay, right. So I started dancing in the womb. And I mean that literally, and I mean that figuratively, I mean that aesthetically, I mean that sonically, whatever, however you want to call it. I started out in the womb, and it's actually how I got my name, Karisma. My mom says that in her womb she would try out different names, and Karisma was the only name that I danced to. And dance was my response, right?
In the womb?
In utero. So she's saying, you know, the names were like Senya, Karisma, Cameron. She wasn't sure if I was a boy or a girl. And Karisma was the only name that I would respond to by élonging my foot or doing a small little pirouette in the belly, right? and she would try it out for different things because she's like, this girl can't really be answering me with just, you know, like, is this happening? So sometimes it would be like, Karisma, do you want orange juice or apple juice? Or, you know, she's like trying out different questions, and I would dance. So I came out dancing. That was clear. And shout out to Mama Sandy because she listened. She actually let me be in charge of what I wanted to respond with, right? And so as I was, you know, just being exposed to the classes she was taking me to, I was always on the side of every dance class she would go to. There were dance classes at Leslie's, dance classes at Ferretta. I'm talking about old school New York City dance scene.
Right.
And as I'm just absorbing all of that information, I start to pick up the steps and I start to teach in those classes. So I'm teaching like some of these women who are my like 40-year, 50-year senior, what the step is because I've been in the room. And it's funny, there's a woman, Mama Rochelle, she's one of our elders and long-standing dance attendees, and she says, she was 4 years old teaching me the step, right? And I'm laughing because I've always had kind of that teaching, nurturing energy. So when I get to my dance school that I was in, Professional Center for the Arts in Brooklyn, I started working with the babies, and I would be teaching the babies the steps and going over, you know, just rehearsing with them while we were on the side. my teacher, Melissa Vaughn, she sees that I actually am teaching and gives me my first class at 10 years old. And so from the age of 10, it became really my mission to teach how I wanted to be taught, to come from this place of compassion and empathy, but also discipline, because I really do honor that like things require discipline, they require work and intentionality to be able to then see results.
So at 10 years old, you're dancing.
And I'm teaching. Now
And you're teaching.
I'm teaching the babies how to dance.
Yeah, but there's something else in your heart. There's math in your heart.
Oh, you know, it's so funny. Algebra has always been, to me, what I do in dance. So in dance, we solve for X. And X could be 2 pirouettes. X could be how you sustain out of the pirouette and land in 5th or land in 4th. You know, you're constantly having to figure out on which side of the equal sign you are in dance. And so, yeah, I've loved math my whole life. I've loved dance my whole life. I did decide in college that I was gonna do dance and math. And then, like I said, Calc 3 took me for a spin.
A double major, math and dance, right.
So Calc 3 took me for a spin, pun intended. And I decided, okay, I want to be able to work that side of my brain, but I need it to just be an input-output relationship versus us theorizing so much. And so in a very calm endeavor, I decided that I was going to do pre-med. Because for me, the arts heals. And I wanted to figure out, okay, how can I combine those two parts of myself?
Right, right. So now graduated from high school at 16.
LaGuardia High School,
And then,
dance major.
And then hit the road.
Hit the road and toured with Ronald K. Brown Evidence as one of the youngest members. Also privately trained in ballet and made sure to keep refining the skill and the discipline.
And then spent, what, 4 years in Stomp?
Yep, and so after college, I graduated during a recession, and I was trying to figure that out, and then I booked Stomp, which I call a graduate school for the performing arts, because you have to learn how to emote, emit, and actually encourage and inspire people without saying anything, and using music as a universal language, using the arts as a universal language. And we traveled all over the world. I've been to every state imaginable. I've been to so many continents and lived in so many different places because of Stomp and because of dance. Dance has taken me all over the world.
All over the world. Now you decided to create your own nonprofit, and that's why we say abundance, but it's abundance.
It has a D for that flair, yes. So I started Abundance in 2013 officially. But in 2011, I did sort of a pilot launch to see if it was going to really work, if it was something that the community needed. And I saw very, very quickly that we needed a space where we could not come from a mentality of scarcity, but actually adopt an abundant mentality, actually welcome abundance in as our birthright. So I named it Abundance because I really do believe in the power of abundance. We all deserve to have abundance, and in the word abundance, there's dance.
Right, right. And so how old are your students? You're based in Brooklyn.
We are based in Brooklyn, in my hometown, born and raised.
Right.
And I used to say that we cater to dancers ages 2 to 82. And then my great-grandmother, Miriam, or Nanan as we call her, before she passed at 98, she said she was going to be on the stage with us. So now it's 2 to 102.
Oh, wow, to 102. I still have time to squeak in.
You are coming, Carol, period.
Okay, definitely, definitely. Now, in addition to teaching all of this in the Black, Latina, Caribbean, theme where you can wear your hair in any way you want, you also have begun to give out awards. Talk to us about this concept of feeling, as I read it, that people were just not being saluted for who they were.
Yeah, I started the Abundance Awards, and now I co-produce it with my colleague, Jason Herbert. We grew up together. So I also want to say this, everything that I have done and am doing and everything I'm gonna do, right, is rooted in community. It's rooted in village. I may be sitting here as me, but I am standing on literally the shoulders, locking arms with so many of my village. In Crown, that is one of my students who's the protagonist. That is one of my friends who is the actress. That is my mom is in Crown. In Palante, those are my students. So I always pay homage to people because people helped me get here. It's just not something I could have done alone. To that point, when I started noticing that all of our elders were kind of getting older, some of them never receiving accolades or awards from us or anyone in the industry, it became imperative for me to do something about it. So we started Abundance Awards, and we have really given out some prolific awards. And one of the things that is a commonality across all of the recipients is when they are in their speech, they say, "This hits home." You know, like this strikes a chord because they really know we see them because we learned from them. Right. We were their students. We went to their shows. We were in the audience being impressed by what they had to share. So Abundance Awards happens every winter, usually around February. And it's something that I'm hoping gets televised and keeps going to really give these people the flowers they deserve while they can smell them.
Right. Well, I think it's fantastic, and it's gotten so much praise everywhere. And personally, who are the people that you now, when you're thinking back, who the greatest influences? I assume it comes from the dance world, but not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
You know.
So I have had the honor of having an amazing mom, a single mom who really, talk about immigrant, talk about Black woman trying to make it in Brooklyn. The New York concrete jungle is very real. And so for her to be able to envision possibility for me, for her to expose me to all that actually is available. When rent was due, we've had the lights turn off on us before. I've done homework by candlelight before. This is a real deal. This is resilience. This is real, right? This is reality. So I really thank my mom for finding a way to take me to Ailey. My mom used to actually do accounting for New York City Ballet in exchange for tickets so I could go and see the ballet when I was little. She has sacrificed so much because she wanted to let me not be thinking that I was a victim of my circumstance or that I couldn't have what I deserved. I would say also I've had some really prolific, old school, very discipline-oriented, very passionate dance teachers and dance makers who have inspired me to keep pushing, some of whom I've thanked and honored in the Abundance Awards because they really add quietly, like quiet storms. They add to our industry without needing praise. They're doing it because they genuinely love dance. And that's now how I move. I just love dance. I love the arts, and I want to do all that I can to keep it going.
Well, it seems as if you're absolutely doing that. And one of the things that you can be instructive in is that you, as a dancer, have had an injury and have come back from it. And that is always, we know Misty Copeland, we know the many stories of what this does to a career and to a psyche. Talk to us about that.
Oh my goodness. So I am not new to obstacles, especially in terms of my skin tone, my skin complexion, my experience, my embodied practice. I was doing...
Why do you say skin tone? What do you...
So I've had an audition where they brought out a brown paper bag, and if we did not match... Listen, this is Black America, okay? Where's the camera at, okay, y'all? Right. So I have been on auditions before where we lined up. We did not get to show our talent yet. We didn't get to say our names, right? We barely had a number pinned to us, and they took out a brown paper bag to see if we matched or were lighter or darker than the brown paper bag. I mean, literally.
That is so 1940s.
It's giving raggedy, okay? And so to that point, I remember coming out of that audition, I didn't make it. So clearly they were looking for something, you know what I mean? Right. They were looking for something specific. I come out of that audition and I remember feeling wow, I didn't even get to show myself. I didn't get to show my talent. I didn't get to really present all of who I am. Instead, I was held to this sort of stigma, right? I was held to whatever was that construct that they were operating within. Right. And so in terms of not being a stranger to obstacles, I mean, I've always had curves. I've always had thick hair that couldn't fit in a bun. That story of Crown was my story. When I tried to fit my hair in a bun, me and my mom were with the hot comb, burning my hair, trying to get me to match this European aesthetic. So I ruptured my Achilles kind of like after doing so much, right? So I'm like, wait a minute, I've like been way more dangerous in my life in dance, and I just went and took a little dance class literally on a Monday in May and ruptured my Achilles. And so I'm really grateful for the holistic doctors, the surgeon I had, the holistic remedies that I take and consume every day to just ensure that I got back to my feet, literally.
And how long did it take?
I feel like in a very real way, it took 2 years.
Wow.
I was actually out of surgery and like underneath, like I did some like laser cell regenerative work. Like I was under lasers out of surgery. Like I needed my cells to actually like get to going.
Right.
And then I did a lot of training. I've been doing a lot of private, just like gym membership stuff, working with trainers to just get me back to it.
Well, we have an example.
Oh my God, not an example, y'all.
What? We have an example of you dancing. I hear you're trending on TikTok.
I'm on Instagram. I'm an Instagram
All right.
girl, yes.
All right, you're trending. But we have you dancing with one of your smaller partners.
Yes, one of my students. So I've had since she was 2 years old, Naomi, and she is now going to high school. And so she's now my new like TikTok bestie.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at that.
Okay.
Let me be, let me. When you move like that on me. Let me be. Don't stop, don't talk, just feel, let me. Let me be.
Oh, that's so great. I love it. So clearly you're recovered.
I am.
And teaching.
Yes.
And doing.
And dancing.
And dancing and doing.
And performing and yes, and moving and shaking, yes.
And magnificent things. And you took time to come and talk with us about it. We are so thrilled.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. And I just can't wait to see what else happens.
Yes, there's more.
Are we going to be calling you Dr. Jay?
Soon to be.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so much for being with us. What a wonderful award-winning performing artist, filmmaker, professor, artistic director, and founder of Abundance Academy of the Arts. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That is it for us today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we will see you the next time. You're fabulous.
Thank you. You're fabulous.